What's the reason for this video? When I wasn't looking, this channel became almost exclusively about hip-hop and uninformed philosophy. The last time I tried writing about another genre of music, the algorithm just stared at me until I caved and made my 65th video on Earl Sweatshirt. Kafka's favorite rock band is an underrated video, by the way. You should go watch that one. But alas, I must confess this to you, my dear viewers. The closet creaks open and my African ass emerges before you, a true pop girly. I love early Tay Swift and early Alec Benjamin. An Internet Girl's live version is good, but the studio version is better. Sorry, I like the chipmunked vocals, suck my dick. I think pop music is interesting because it kind of doesn't exist on its own. It's kind of the only major genre that sits slowly on the shoulders of every other genre all at once. Even pop's biggest influences draw from other sources almost exclusively. Charlie XCX drew from electronica, Sheeran drew from hip-hop and folk, and let's not get back to K-pop, which is essentially everything I've just said cranked up to 16. My legs, my feet, they're falling asleep. Pop music isn't real. It emerged in the unholiest of places, 1950s UK. It was a blend of mostly rock, but some R&B and some country. In fact, pop music didn't have its reputation of being bland commercialia until the 60s, when people realized if they just sanded down the rough edges, people could swallow it easier. Before that, pop music and rock were kind of synonymous. At least that's what Wikipedia says. God bless Wikipedia, bro. The reason for this video is that I need a... Whoa, I just broke a nail, nigga. The reason for this video is that I need a break. Currently, I'm chiseling away at a really heavy piece on the failure of hip-hop as protest art, as well as a novel about authenticity and other impossibilities in the digital age. So I guess this will be my attempt at levity. Do I even know how to do that? We'll see. This isn't a video essay. It's hardly even a video. Just 3 pop acts I really like. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. The first album I want to rave about is Rachel Chinori's debut project, What a Devastating Turn of Events, released in the nebulous distant past of 2024. What I like so much about this album is just how unpretentious it is. And I must stress that when I say unpretentious, I don't mean unambitious. What a Devastating Turn of Events works because it is Chinori using, as Heaven Halley of Pitchfork described it, the techniques of the acts that came before her, Lily Allen, Coldplay, and channeling them through the eyes and heart of an African woman. I found her after YouTube recommended me the music video of her electric single, Never Need Me. And one of the top comments underneath that video is just a black woman declaring how refreshing it is to hear these pop rock sounds and coming of age aesthetics come from a person who actually shares her experiences. From tracks like the opener, Garden of Eden, a dissociative anthem on the entire enterprise of being in one's 20s, to The Hills, which is about that weird, all-encompassing feeling of wrongness you get when you're in a place or with people you don't belong. The track Cold Call straight up feels like the ending needle drop to a movie about a female serial killer. Her music is visual. It is inspired by a lifetime of having to reach across demographic lines just to relate to art. It is, finally, her story, and therefore it becomes ours. And as we'll see, that's what pop music is kind of all about. In addition to this album, I'd also recommend her singles, I'm Not Perfect But I'm Trying, Can We Talk About Isaac, and her rejoiceful collaboration with British light-skinned duo Rilo Kiley. Follow excitement. Particularly, Can We Talk About Isaac really might be her best track. It takes all of the things that made her debut album so charming and makes nearly every element of it so potent. It's accessible. It's looking many different people in the eye, but it is still under no circumstances lying to any of them. You know, sometimes it's like I look at myself and I'm really like, I'm a handsome ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Today is not one of those days. Olivia Rodrigo has low-key become the soundtrack to my young adult life. In 2021, One second. Where the fuck is it? Look at this cheesy ass YA cover. In 2021, I turned 18 and began work on my first novel. A novel which now sits on Amazon, a painful reminder of how corny 18-year-old Tosin was. Is it visible? It's gonna be worse when I add the filter, so you probably won't even see the fucking thing. And I remember being blown away by the harmonizing on Favorite Crime. Sour was so monumental to me. And I don't even think it fully dawned on me that I wasn't the demographic for her work. Not only was I not, at the time I must specify, a cute whitish woman, but I hadn't even been in a relationship. It just hit me different, I guess. I remember working on this novel, barely an adult, trying to make sense of this nameless feeling of yearning I felt every waking minute. And here was the star of High School fucking Musical, the fucking musical, giving me words, if only for a moment. What a dream it is to be 18, aware of everything, but understanding none of it. How unreal the world is. And then Vampire came out. There is a video of me out there in the ether somewhere, of me sitting in the passenger seat of my ex's car, actively losing my mind at the notes that woman was hitting. Guts was the sound of me transitioning into my 20s. I can trace each track to a specific aspect about myself, like one of those annoying assignments teachers love giving. I played Logical on loop and realized I'd been a, let's say, less than adequate partner. Teenage Dream removed the already dying sheen from my eyes and told me that yes, I was an adult, and this was it. This was my life. There was nothing more I was allowed to ask for. Things are, you likely don't need me to tell you how amazing You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So In Love is. I am probably the 16th video you've watched on that album just this week alone. But I think it's just another definitive step in what she's been trying to say since she dropped Driver's License on the unsuspecting world back in 21. Ignore that beep. I swear to God, you niggas are so annoying. It is the lesson masquerading itself as growing pains. That world-quaking acknowledgement that whatever we're looking for likely doesn't exist. And if it does, it is in no one's heart but our own. God, she's good. My legs, nigga. This is why I stand. I need to stand. Hold on. Yeah, I can work with this. This is nice. Pop music gets lambasted among many music nerds for its lack of opacity. People say it's accessible at the cost of specificity and nuance, and they're partially right. But I'd argue it is that same lack of opacity that makes it so powerful as a shared language. Specificity is beautiful and necessary. Artists like Billy Woods and Black Country New Road do an excellent job of entrancing you with such nitty-gritty details. And there's definitely a flip side, where songs get so non-specific and empty that they become about nothing. Recall that excellent bit on Justin Bieber by Bo Burnham. But pop music, at its best, is translucent by design. And it's not cynical or just a raw, greedy desire to relate to as many people as possible. Rodrigo actually talked about this on Popcast, where pop music works because it has holes in its butterfly wings, so to speak. With a good balance of specificity and accessibility, you can hit the bullseye on an emotional truth while still opening the door for everyone. Everyone, even depressed, perpetually confused Nigerian men, can relate to what the girlies are going through. As God himself is my witness, when I listen to KGB by Adela, I also feel I am a hot European woman with Abraham Lincoln hips. What if the very same thing that makes pop music lowbrow is actually what makes it magical? The last album I want to talk about is a bit of a throwback. The Execution of All Things is a certified hood classic released by Rilo Kiley in the fall of '02. It's an indie pop rock masterwork about, I guess, everything. Particularly, the song Better Son/Daughter is what I'm going to focus on. I found the song, and by extension the band, entirely on accident. I was at a house party where we were playing songs in everyone's Spotify mix. Thankfully, this sad-ass song didn't get queued up, but once I got home, I decided it was worth listening to because of the interesting title and the fact that it was the liked song of a person I wanted to get closer to. The song is about despair, bone-deep melancholy that isn't whimsical or inspirational or charming or meaningful or educational. The kind of sadness that makes you a bad person. Unlikable, unlovable, scornful. Lead singer Jenny Lewis starts the song in the first person. Sometimes in the morning, I am terrified and can't breathe. Awake, but cannot open my eyes. And then she quickly but subtly transitions into the second person. And your mother still calling you insane and high. And you tell her to give in to the demons that possess her, that God never blessed her insides. She makes you not just a witness, but a co-conspirator to what her pain made her do. Less subtle is the song's transition into an anthem of hope. It is a plane breaking through clouds, horns and electric guitars descend, drums come marching in like the saints. It is the sound of actual mercy, yet she still keeps it in the second person. You'll fake it if you have to. You'll be better, and you'll be smarter, and more grown up, a better daughter or son. This likely isn't going to be a radio station's favorite track, but it, more than any, shows the alchemy of pop music. A godforsaken amalgamation of rock and folk and country. A declaration that what's mine is yours. My words, my heartbreak, my despair, my hope.
Soldiers come quickly. I feel the earth
Okay.
beneath my feet. I'm feeling
the butt.
badly.
There we go.
And it's half-dead decency.
I have a short story collection. Don't look at my crotch. A short story collection called In Wonder Your People. Oh God. I'm gonna say I read them over the course of a year. It's some really, I would say, if not good stuff, surprising stuff. It's probably the first book I've written and published where I'm actually like proud of it. Like I can like show it to people. I might be like, oh, I was 18, I swear. One of my favorite stories actually is one about a guy, an African man who like goes back in time to become a cowboy, but instead dies of racism and tuberculosis. It's available in all formats, even audiobook, with beeps, and I recorded the audiobook myself. Actually, if you have Spotify Premium, it's also free. So, or you can check out my Patreon. I want to get up, but that leg, I don't know if it's even framed. That leg is like pins and needles. I'm in pain, nigga. I'm hurting. Like, oh, it's getting worse. It should be illegal to be this out of shape at 23. I'm not even 23. I feel like I'm 27, but I feel like I'm hitting 30. I'm getting old. I'm getting weary. World weary. Get the book, please. Come on, get up. You son of a bitch. Get up. Ow, 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 ow. Were you even recording? Oh, thank God.